The dollar's collapsing. Buy gold and silver. Buy gold and silver. The stock market's going to collapse with it. The economy's doomed. Doomed, I tell you. Man, this is the same story we've been hearing for decades. Decades and decades. Like I said the other day in a video I did. What is that, buddy? And Louis Rukeyser, October 1987, the week before the great market crash, October 1987, they had a guy from Goldman Sachs on there just saying the same stuff we are hearing now. The fiscal deficits, the debt, there's something about the spending, something else he was saying, the tax cuts, the same old story, man. The same old story. Go on, buddy. No, buddy. Come on. You're getting in the flowers. It's no different than the Democrats and their continued. The Republicans are going to push Granny off Medicare. Come on, do a new playbook. But anyway, I don't get this fear porn of the dollar. It's just someone had sent me an email or article. I forgot what the guy's name was, and I read the article about the pending dollar collapse, and I laugh. I hear this all the time. Now I'll share with you what would concern me about what would cause, or not what concerns me, what would cause a dollar collapse. It's not going to be deficits. It's just not. Everyone essentially is running deficits. I mean, maybe China isn't, I don't know, but can you trust the commies? The facts are, would you rather be a somewhat capitalist, somewhat free market society with deficits, or would you rather be a commie system? Well, I mean, if you had to invest, would you invest in a somewhat capitalist, somewhat free market society that's running deficits and debt for years and years? I mean, literally going back to the 1920s, other than a few short years that we had a balanced budget. Or would you rather invest in a commie country that has surpluses, and we'll say no debt, even though I know China's got debt. But just if you're an investor, which one would you rather do? You're going to invest in capitalism every time, because growth is in capitalism. Stagnation and poverty, never mind death, is in commie. All right, you're always going to invest in the growing entity, the growth stock of the U.S., because that is where growth occurs. The only thing commies can do is steal IP, intellectual property. They can't do anything else. They can't create their own, because there's no price incentive. There's no incentive mechanism. That's why socialism fails too, by the way. There's no incentive mechanism, and there's no price to determine what is the true value of something. They don't have that. And so because of that, they won't use their brains to create. They use their brawn in order to keep people down. It's insane. So the idea that the commies are going to take us over just because we have debt, it's just silly. I mean, come on. You're not going to invest in a communist country, even if it's running surpluses. You're just not. I don't know what the Chinese, if they're running surplus, I just don't care, because they rely on us a hell of a lot more than we rely on them. That's just a fact. The whole world relies on us. We are the only game in town in the freaking whole wide world. That's all there is to it. Now, if India starts, maybe they are. Maybe they'll start, upping their game. Taiwan, but again, Taiwan can't even get in the World Health Organization because China has the WHO freaking strapped down. That's crazy. And they don't hear anyone saying, well, that's racism against the Taiwanese. No, it's only Trump saying it's racism against the commie virus. Anyway, so if you are a betting person and you said, I have to summon money to invest, are you going to invest in the commies, or are you going to invest in China, or are you going to invest in the United States? Well, that's not the only option. What are the other options? Brazil, the EU, Japan. Japan's even worse than we are, as I've said 1,000 times. If you are investing, you're investing to get a return. It's called ROI, return on investment, or you could even say return on equity if you wanted to. It's actually return on investing. I'm going to invest X amount of dollars into X amount of investment, and I expect to get this as return, right? ROI. You're not going to invest anyplace else. You're not. So because of that, the demand for debt in the United States, our bonds will be high, because we are the only game in town. Oh, look at that. When it comes to paying it back. No one else is going to pay it back the way we can. But they're going to print it. Okay, what's Japan going to do? What's the EU going to do? And by the way, the EU, part of its charter, is that each member country can't have more than a 3% budget deficit, which is why there is no growth there. Because it's just an arbitrary number that they put on there, which is why it's killing countries like Spain and Greece and whatnot. So Spain and Greece got initial boon for joining the EU, but now they're suffering. They just don't have the capacity to compete with Japan, or not Japan, Germany and France. And because they can't issue their own debt, essentially, in their own currency, they're done. I mean, there's just not going to be any growth there. It's not. It's going to stagnate and then slowly decay. And we see that a mile away. Well, same thing could happen. Oh, man. Same thing could happen to America. No, it can't. Because that's what I always say, Tina, where else are you going to park your assets, man? Now, here's where it gets scary. So to stop falling for the freaking fear porn, it doesn't make sense. Now, look, I'm 100% on board buying gold and silver. I own gold and silver. I'm 100% on board buying real estate. I own real estate. My house. I'm all about that. I'm all about all that stuff. I'm a prepper. I own lots of firearms. I own lots of ammunition. I freaking hold lots of dry, dehydrated food. I got, 2 freezers full of meats. I mean, I do. I even got some PV panels. I get it. I have inverters. I got generator, you name it. So I believe in all that. Absolutely. But I don't do that because I think the dollar is going to collapse. Here's the scary thing. This is what I hope people on the right, libertarian right, recognize as a threat. It's not the freaking, I was just reading today, someone on a guy I follow, Mark Tapscott from PJ Media, was, I thought, misrepresenting Stephanie Kelton's MMT, modern monetary theory, that essentially he was saying that people have modern monetary theory. Now, Stephanie, who used to be a Bernie advisor, is now an advisor to Biden. Of course, she's not advising Biden because Biden doesn't know his butt from a hole in the ground because he's literally that. He just doesn't know what's going on. But anyway, so the issue was in that regard is that Tapscott was saying that Kelton will lead us all to hyperinflation in the amount of debt because MMT believes that there's no amount of money you can print and spend which will ever cause inflation. That's simply just not true. And our side needs to be a little bit better at understanding the other side. We don't want to be like the left where we just make crap up. That's not good because that's simply wrong. That's not what MMT says. I'm not an outright advocate of MMT. However, I do believe there is some, is warranted to some degree when we have what we're dealing with now, a self-inflicted wound of immense proportions, all because of the fear mongers, Neil Ferguson. All right, but anyway, going back to this. So, where is the scary stuff? Cashless society. That's where it gets scary. That's where we got a one world currency. I'm telling you, man, they're going to move more and more to cashless societies. You know why? Because they're going to say cash is dirty. Lots of coronavirus on your cash. You don't know what kind of cocaine residue is on there. Lots of drug paraphernalia. Lots of this, lots of that. We can't trace it, so who knows what these bad guys are doing with their drug cartels. We don't know if the Islamics are using cash to build, ample reservoirs of chemical weapons. We don't know, so let's go to cashless society. That's where we can track things. And that should scare the hell out of you, man. That should scare the hell out of you. Look, I've learned my lesson under the Patriot Act. I acknowledge my sins in supporting George W. Bush in that Patriot Act thing. And I acknowledge my sins in supporting Bill Clinton. And I didn't support Bill Clinton, but I supported the Republicans on NAFTA. I was a fool. I fell for what the leadership was proposing. Had the word free trade on there, had the word patriot, so I felt, oh man, it's gotta be good, right? We gotta keep these people from bombing us again. Yeah, it didn't do that. It never went away. And that's the thing. Once they go to cashless society, we're screwed at that point. And you cannot allow that to happen. Look at what they've done now, just in terms of encroaching on your freedom. It's flipping scary. With a created pandemic that's just a little bit more than a normal flu in terms of mortality. And look what they're able to do to frighten you I'm telling you, this is what makes Wayne LaPierre and the NRA so incredibly important to follow. They did the same with guns. And Wayne LaPierre said Bill Clinton is willing to tolerate a certain level of violence to push gun control because he knew that a little bit of violence would create fear, and fear could be used to basically take away your freedom. That is exactly what was trying to happen. Thankfully, someone like Wayne LaPierre stood up. So the question is, who's going to stand up against a cashless society? Because it's coming. Because when people start getting scared, and they say, well, we got to do something about those Mexican cartels. We got to do something about those Islamists. We got to do something about those Michigan militia. We got to do something. Well, the one thing they'll say, the power grabbers, the Gavin Newsoms, the Half-Whitmers of the world, the Governor Bakers, well, we need to be able to police these people up. You won't be affected, Josh. You're not hurting anybody. You're just going through your day-to-day life. It's not going to bother you. We're just going to go after the bad guys. Yeah, that's what they always say. That's where it gets scary. So whatever you have to do, stand firm against the cashless society. That's where it's going to get violent. I'm telling you right now, against us, normal people, because if they can control everything you do, and watch everything you do, just going back to China. Look at China. What do you think's happening right now? It's a dystopian nightmare there. You don't want any part of that. It's coming with the cashless society. So stand firm, my friends. All right, we'll see you.